Hi, my name's Isaac, and this is a brand new 2023 Volkswagen Taos. And today, I'm gonna review it for you guys. But first, I really wanted to point this out. So, that American flag in the background is actually a giant one at the Volkswagen dealership, but I realized as I was setting the camera up that the angle in which I parked this makes it look like it's one of those little tiny American flags that you put in the window of your car. Doesn't really have anything to do with the actual review, but I thought it was pretty funny. Before we begin, I'd like to thank Autohaus in Lancaster, Pennsylvania for allowing me to borrow this vehicle. One of the really cool things about this dealership is they have a little auto museum in their basement. I've never been to a dealership like this before, and it's such a cool touch. So, for all your Volkswagen, Porsche, or Audi needs, I'll leave a link to their website in the description below. Due to some extenuating circumstances, I had to repark this Taos. I promise I'm not just trying to get the American flag in the background of every shot. Though now that I say that, I'm kind of tempted to at least try. Never mind, I'm not gonna do that. You guys are here for a Volkswagen review, so let's get started on the front end. Starting here at the headlights, you'll have full LED high beams and low beams. Then you'll have a daytime running light incorporated into this lower portion of the housing, and you'll have incandescent turn signals. Then below that on the front fascia, you'll have these cool air pass-throughs right here. And then your Volkswagen logo is going to double as a sensor for the safety technology package that this Taos is equipped with. I'll delve into that a little bit more when I move to the interior. Overall, I think this boxy corporate Volkswagen design actually works really well on this small SUV. Let's take a look underneath the hood. Moving underneath the hood in the Taos, this is powered by a 1.5-liter turbocharged inline four-cylinder, making 158 horsepower and 184 pound-feet of torque, and that is paired to a 7-speed automatic transmission. Moving to the profile of the Taos, starting down here with the wheels and tires, you're gonna get 225 50R tires around these 18-inch wheels. I really like the design, and if you can see here as we move closer, this is closed off in this area here. I have to imagine that helps with the aerodynamics of the vehicle and thus the fuel economy. One more thing of note right here is this is a different bolt pattern type than any American car I've ever seen. Normally they use traditional lugs, but Volkswagen is different on some of their vehicles, which is really cool to see that they do that different threading. And I imagine that probably trips most car thieves up if they're trying to steal wheels, because that's not the traditional use, which is good. Then right here you'll have matte black fender flares that continue along to the back. I really like this design cue that a lot of these smaller SUVs are going with recently. It's not like a fully off-road look, but it's a little bit more rugged and it makes it feel a little cooler. And then here you'll have your Taos emblem right there on the side, and that continues into the door a little bit. Then you'll have body color matched mirror. And if we move over here, there is blind spot monitoring, and they are power mirrors. Down here, you'll have keyless entry. Moving back here, very Volkswagen in styling, though I think it is particularly sharp. I've always liked how Volkswagens have looked, and I think that extends here with this SUV. Very neat design, and very, very Audi. It is very sharp, and I think Volkswagen has kind of caught up to Audi in how visually appealing they look. So gotta give it to them there. Here you'll have your Volkswagen emblem on the rear, and then you'll have a backup camera right here, and then you can tap to open this up. This model particularly doesn't have the ability to open the trunk, though it is an option on higher trims from the key fob, I should say. Obviously, you can open your trunk. It would be weird if they were like, right, this is the base model, can't open the trunk on this one. But I meant from the key fob right there. Though this one does have remote start, which is nice, and while we're on the key fob, I really like this. Their panic button is a little guy running away, which I think is very, very cute. If we move back here to the storage area, a lot of space, and if you lift this up, you do have a donut right there. Nice to see that they give you an actual spare tire and not a fix-a-flat kit. Some of these smaller SUVs in this segment just give you a fix-a-flat. Not a big fan of that. Down here you will have a 12-volt outlet, which is cool to see, and you do have the ability to fold the second row. Of course, that's always an option on these smaller SUVs to give you even more space back here. Overall, very spacious, despite it being tiny. Let's take a quick look at the interior, or it's probably gonna be a long look. We're gonna take a look at the interior. I cannot promise the time. Moving to the interior of the Taos, I'm pretty impressed with what this includes, and I think you will be too, especially for the price point. Starting here on the door panel, you'll have soft touch up here. Down here is also soft touch to rest your arms. Then you'll have your window controls, your mirror controls, the button to open up your fuel door, lighting controls, then of course your standard turn signal indicators, your windshield wipers right here. And then if we move to the steering wheel, it is leather wrapped, very comfortable. It has a heating element incorporated into it and a lot of buttons because this steering wheel controls the center gauge screen, which is entirely digital. No traditional gauges right here on the Taos. But you also have your buttons for the radar guided cruise control that this is equipped with, so you can set your follow distance and it will slow down and speed up based on what you set it at. That's part of the safety package that is equipped with this that I mentioned before on the front sensor, and then it works in conjunction with a camera that is hidden up there behind your mirror. But let's talk about this center gauge cluster screen really quick. You can do a lot of different customization options here. You can go through and see what you want displayed. Obviously you have the traditional directions, the time, you know, how many miles, what your range is till empty, the regular stuff. But also, you know, you can put navigation, average speed, audio, telephone, a lot of different things that you can do. You also have the ability to change the layout of the gauge cluster to show if you just want the tachometer and a digital speedometer, or you want this more in-depth screen layout, you can do that, which is nice to see. And then if we move over here to the infotainment screen, it's not the largest screen, but it is really premium and it's got a cool party trick. For lack of a better term, you can basically use the force with this screen. So let's say, for example, I want to switch between my menus right here. There is a small sensor down here, and I can just wave my hand and go between different menus. It's really useful, very intuitive for the most part, and it's really cool because the thought process is I keep my eyes on the road, and if I want to switch between something, I can just wave between that, and it's a lot less dangerous to be looking at this screen. And so I really like that Volkswagen has incorporated that here. Now, of course, you're also going to have the ability to do Apple CarPlay, Android Auto right here, a lot of different options that you can pull up on here. Pretty standard stuff, though there's a couple of other things that I want to highlight here just for the moment. So if we throw it into reverse, you'll have a backup camera right here. Pretty standard, not the highest quality, though it's nice to see that it's there. And on this trim does not have guiding lines that turn with it, which is unfortunate, though it's at least nice to have. And then one of the other things that I think is particularly amusing on here is you'll have your drive mode selector right here. And when we turn our drive mode selector, it's going to appear on the screen, which is very useful. Though what I find particularly amusing, as I said, is that it shows you these pictures on the side, kind of, I guess, implying that the vehicle's reflecting this, you know, whatever mode you're in, but the roads are forward, but the Taos is sideways. So this guy's either drifting really hardcore or they're actually going truly off-road, which is really funny. I just think that's so silly, and I wanted to point that out. So that's some of the little quirks that you'll get here in the infotainment system. Then down here you'll have heated seats, your climate controls right there, and your engine start-stop button, and wireless charging, 2 USB-Cs, a 12-volt down there. And then you'll have your auto engine start stop button right here. This is a mid trim on the Taos, so these buttons are usually filled up on the higher trims with some other options and features. Then here you'll have 2 cup holders, a little storage space, and then another additional smaller storage space. And then if we move to these seats right here, very comfortable. I really like what they've done here. They call this Cloud Tex, the material right here, and I think it is really plush, very premium. The passenger seat is manually adjusting, though this driver's seat does have auto up, down, back, forward and lumbar support right there. So that's really cool to see. And then if we move up here, you'll have a mirror with the digital layout of what direction you're facing. Then up here, you'll have your controls for the panoramic moonroof that this is equipped with. I really like it. Feels very premium, adds to the aura of this interior, and it's just so cool to have up there, which I really like. And then you have your emergency services button up there. Moving to the rear seats in the Taos, you have a good deal of legroom right here, storage pockets on both ends, and you'll also have climate vents back here and a USB-C. Only one though, so if there's multiple occupants back here, they'll kind of have to fight for that, which is a little unfortunate, but it's still nice to have that at all. You have a lot of headroom back here. So I am 5'10"-ish, and you have probably, or I have, because if you're taller or shorter than me, you'd have more or less headroom. I probably have 4 inches of headroom and a good deal of legroom too, so very comfortable. So if you're planning on taking this as a family driver, this would be pretty useful. If you have a few kids, you can throw them back here, and a few adults would probably fit very comfortably back here as well, which is surprising based on the size. And then down here, you'll have 2 cup holders and a third cup holder for a little tiny cup if you got one of those. And the seats are just as comfortable back here as they are up front. Of course, you get the best view out of that panoramic moonroof from back here. Driving the Volkswagen Taos. I'm really excited. This is the first new Volkswagen I've reviewed on the channel, and I always love discovering new brands and what their technology is and what they bring to the table, because it's so neat. I just love this job because I'm like, oh, I've never reviewed a Volkswagen before. Let's see what they do. Because obviously they're very popular with some people, and I want to make sure I hit that audience, that demographic, and that gives me more knowledge on the car too, because a lot of people come to me and go, you review cars, what kind of car should I buy? And I actually genuinely love when people do that, because it gives me the opportunity to share the knowledge that I have with all these cars, and I get to ask them like, well, what are you looking for? Are you looking for a small SUV? Are you looking for a sedan? You know, what are your needs? It's basically like me being a car salesman without actually being a car salesman, which is kind of fun for me. So driving the Taos here, getting it out on the highway, pedal to the floor, it does have pretty good giddy up. That 7-speed automatic transmission is nice, and it's a very smooth little SUV. I really like the handling on this particular thing. The braking is really nice, and the steering feels really tight, very responsive. Even though this is not a sports car particularly from Volkswagen, they did not skimp on the driving dynamics of this thing. I think it handles very well, and it's very comfortable. Also, I like the view out of this thing. Doesn't feel like it's cramped or like I have a lot of blind spots in here. It's very open. Some other vehicles that I've driven recently, like the new Toyota Tundra, definitely they do not have the best visibility on the market. And so I like that this Volkswagen Taos feels comfortable to drive, and it's not a kind of a scary thing to do. It feels very open, which is good. And I want to give you some footage here of what it looks like outside in the driver's position, because people have asked me, hey, I want to see what you see visibility wise. I don't just want to look at your mug the whole time while you're doing the driving segment. So I want to start incorporating stuff like that into my videos for you guys to give you a better idea of what it looks like to drive one of these things. But overall, very responsive. It does take a little bit of time to get going, but again, smaller engine, totally expect that. It's not a sports car, but it is very smooth, which is, I think, ideally what you would want. The better fuel economy with this and the very comfortable ride. That is going to wrap up my review of this Volkswagen Taos. I really hope you guys enjoyed. And if you did, leaving a like on the video and hitting subscribe would really help my channel out quite a bit. But before I go, I'd like to mention that I am a Christian. So if you have any prayer requests, I would love to be able to pray for you. You can just leave those in the comment section below. And I like to close out on a weekly Bible verse reading. So I'd like to use the verse Jeremiah 32:38 today, which is, "They shall be my people, and I will be their God." All right, guys, I'll see you next time.